Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kastuba. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Q&A Day. It's Q&A Day Sunday, Sleeping Sunday. For those waking up early every morning, joining us live, you get to sleep until 8 o'clock today. I actually forgot to sleep in today. I was like, wake up! I was like, oh well. Anyway, we're here live, and we got a live crew here. Our teacher training is here, and some of our staples on Zoom, including Bobby Marchand and Hot Cindy Yoga Cindy Hot. What did we change your name to? Nashville Bhakti Yoga. Nashville Bhakti Yoga. And we're here all live. Kastuba, good morning.
Good morning, Raghunath.
Instead of doing a special guest today, we're doing a second day of Q&A.
Yeah.
I'm just putting that out there. If you have a question that you want answered, email it to Mara, sitting beside me, at wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. And we try to get to those, and we save a collection of them, and then we read them on Saturdays or sometimes Sundays.
What kind of scoop neck t-shirt have you got on there, Raghunath? That thing is like, what is that? I got my V-neck on. That thing's like
it's a deep V-neck.
It's a
deep V-neck.
You got
I can't. My chest is so massive. My chest is so massive. I need a.
I think it's
deep
that your head has
V-neck,
stretched
yeah.
out the neck or something like that. Where's the rest of that shirt?
The question is, where's the rest of my chest? How are you?
Oh, hey, you know who I bumped into yesterday? Who says hello to you?
Who?
Moby.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hi, Moby. He wrote the introduction to my book.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, buddy Moby.
Well,
Yeah.
he says hello.
All right. I didn't know you knew him.
Well, I said, hey, I did.
Or did you
I
go up to him
interviewed
like,
you on my
hi,
podcast."
will you sign my shirt?
No, I said I interviewed you on my podcast.
Oh, that's right. He was on our podcast.
Yeah. Duh.
He's sweet. He's a sweet guy.
He was.
Old high school friend of mine. I had some pretty famous. You know who else was in my high school?
I have no idea.
You remember the band Delight? DJ Dimitri was in my high school. We were buddies.
I'm familiar with DJ Dimitri.
Anybody know what I'm talking about? DJ Dimitri, Delight? This whole Gen Z is like, I have no idea what you're talking about here. No, that was anyway.
All right, let's get
Anyway, did you have anybody famous in your high school?
No.
Okay.
It was a small school.
A small school. Yeah. Where'd you go up? Pleasantville, New York?
Mhm.
Okay. We were close. Matter of fact, we were very close to each other growing up.
Well,
Like-
not that close, right? You're at least an hour away.
30 minutes. Yeah, maybe an hour. But imagine if we ran into each other in the store, like when we were 5. Imagine that. And we'd be
Just
like
think about
one,
that, right?
and like some, and like a prophet showed up and said, one day you two will do something together. And the prophet disappeared, like some apparition showed up. Ever think like that? Ever think
Yeah.
like your life partner or something you met as a child? Ever think like that?
No.
Okay.
I just can't stop thinking about your scoop neck shirt. It's just
Listen,
like,
man.
that thing is huge, Ragnar.
It's my new look.
Where
It's
did
my
that
new
come
look,
from?
man. Get used to it.
Oh, is that part of the wardrobe that you've been picking up? It is. Okay. Now
It's
that
a long
I
story,
was
people.
discreet about it. I was discreet, but
You were discreet. Okay. All right. So let's dive into our Q&A day, unless you have any announcements.
I don't.
Okay.
Bhakti Recovery Group meeting at 9:30 today. And also today is the Urban Davy meeting
right.
through the Bhakti Center at 11 a.m.
You go to bhakticenter.org.
All right.
For the ladies that want to participate in Urban Davy.
Yeah. You know, I'm about to put up our Kirtan Academy, which is happening January with, and guess who's leading it this year? I don't know if you're familiar with the famous Mridanga Wali on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
She's a second generation devotee and an incredible music teacher. She's from Brazil, but grew up in Mayapur. And she's been teaching my son Mridanga now for about 5 months. So she's going to lead the Kirtan Academy this year at the Govardhan Yoga Village with us.
Okay.
I'm looking forward. So if you're interested in studying Kirtan for a few weeks, coming to India, I'll put it out there on my Instagram at Raghunath Yogi.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Should I read the question? Would you like me to read it?
You want to read? Why don't you read today, sir?
Okay. So this question is coming in from Lee. You know, wonderful person, right? Lee came up to Super Soul, was it last summer?
Oh, yeah. Lee from North Carolina.
Yeah, from North Carolina. He writes, first of all, I offer my deep gratitude to Wisdom of the Sages and all that you do to keep the show going. Even when you're on the road. Yeah, we try. We didn't do so great this time.
We didn't do great. It's hard. You got to find an internet connection. You got to set up your
Well, you gotta
stuff.
do it.
Mara's lugging my
Figure it out.
microphone and camera around.
Okay. So, so here it goes.
She's lugging like bags and bags of yarn around.
So this month, my partner Haley and I are getting married. Haley came up too, right?
Yep.
And we plan to start a family soon. Okay. Congratulations on that. That's big news.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any advice on keeping God at the center of our relationship and household? And also, if you have any general advice for anyone who is entering marriage and family life for the first time, it would be greatly appreciated.
Oh,
And then a little PS there. P.S. I would love to get your blessings and the blessings from the Wisdom of the Sages community as we embark on this new phase of life. Thank you for considering the question. And he mentions, even though I'm not on Zoom, he was a regular Zoomer.
Yeah.
I'm not on Zoom. I'm still listening every day. And I love and appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much, Lee.
He's another. I'll go with the general advice if you don't mind.
Go.
Anybody embarking on a relationship, I think the first general advice would be, I've got a bunch of them. Don't get into a relationship in debt. Get out of debt before you get into a relationship. That's simple advice. But I think it's important. Huh?
Financial debt.
Financial debt. Of course, we're always in debt as devotees. We always think of ourselves in debt. Another thing is, if you're interested in spiritual life, your partner, before you get married, it's nice to get a partner that also has these same values as you as well. Sometimes people don't, and they get married and they figure, well, it's a little thing. And sometimes those little things become the biggest things. So if you're on a spiritual path, it's nice to have a partner that helps you on your spiritual path. If you're already married, there's a whole nother thing. And I get that. And then you learn to accept and tolerate. But some of the most like joyous, most connected moments are on your spiritual path. And it's nice to have a partner that's into that with you. It's not saying it can't exist if you're on two different spiritual paths, but it helps to have a partner like that. Because if you are on different paths, then something comes up, which is, What happens if you have children? How are you going to raise that children? What are the dietary restrictions of that children? What is the religion? Are you going to get the child baptized, etc.? Something like that. I think those are important things. I think, is it, these sound really mundane, but I think they're important.
Go deeper.
I'm not going to go deeper. I'm going to keep this real simple.
Okay.
You can go deep with the deep ones. I'm not going to go deeper because I think these basic things need, some people feel like, love will keep us together. That's all we need is love. And some people feel like, no, we need a 2 household income, And some people be like, well, no, I want to be a stay-at-home mom.
2 income household.
2 income household. 2 households. Oh, we want 2 households.
Income is like a really good income. I suppose if you have 2 household income, you're going to be fine.
You're going to do great. You're going to do great. I'm a little dyslexic today. But yeah, so some people thinking like, we have these expectations, and it's a real cause for hell. And so that's why I think these premarital counseling, where they go through these things like, do you both plan on working? If you have a baby, do you plan on working after that? Do you want to be a stay-at-home mom? Do you want to be a stay-at-home dad? So these are like super important things to talk about ahead of time before sort of jumping in, because you could have a whole fantasy of what your life is like, but the person may have a whole different fantasy. And guess what? Ouija boards don't work, and neither do crystal balls. Write these things out, exactly. So you know what you're getting into. And then the biggest thing, I think, is if you've had any childhood trauma, which a lot of us have had, even if it's as simple as a divorce, it's so important to work out your own stuff before getting into a relationship or getting into a marriage. Because very quickly, if you don't, people spend so much time planning their wedding and what kind of napkins they're going to use and what kind of plates they're going to use and what kind of silverware they're going to use. Is it going to be in a barn? Is it going to be in a reception hall? They spend hours, thousands of hours, maybe a year to prepare, invest so much money. Take some of that money and invest in yourself and undoing the knots that we've created with some childhood trauma. Because what's going to happen, what happens is, instead of working out my own issues, addiction issues with drugs or alcohol or sex or shopping, if I don't work that out ahead of time, as soon as you get into the marriage, those problems become, you're the reason why I'm addicted to this. You're the reason. And instead of taking any responsibility, I project all that stuff on my newly beloved. And it becomes a real problem. And it undoes that marriage. And then all you've got is a debt for the wedding and some photographs, and you won't have the marriage any longer. So I think these are big, and they sound completely mundane, but I think they're very, very important. I also forgot to mention, you should really talk about if you want to have children or not. And if so, when do you want to have children? And I also think it's important that if you, propose to a person, you should give them a ring and set a date. That's a proposal. That doesn't mean you just give them a ring. That means you give them a ring and you give them a date. Or else sometimes there's a lot of these very open-ended, coerced proposals that never have a date. You know what I mean by that?
Okay. Leading someone on.
Ring and a date. That's a proposal.
Okay.
That's my statement. It's not like the most Krishna conscious or spiritual things, but I think they're practical information.
Yeah.
How would you say? Now, why don't you answer the next one? How to bring God in the family.
That's the part you didn't get into. Well, I mean, there's something that you and I always share here, Raghunath, right? And it's quite simple, but I think it's very profound, and I think it can have a tremendous effect, on a marriage. You with me, Raghunath?
Yeah.
I see.
Look at Jiu-Jitsu now said I look like a pirate in this shirt.
Yeah. Okay. let's just look. Respond to me, Raghunath. I need your presence here.
Okay.
Merrick, get the chat away from him if you could. Thank you. There it goes. Okay. There we go. You looked at me. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, right. So you and I, we share this a lot, right? But and I think we came up with a little something like talking about a relationship like this, like 2 people holding hands,
holding pinkies, walking towards God,
walking towards divinity.
Yeah.
So in other words, the common, even like, right, it's enshrined in these movies, like where the guy goes like, you complete me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, those words, he said those words. It's like, they've like, that's where the whole film is leading for that word. But really, I don't think that's the most realistic way to look at it. And I think that it's that expectation that may cause a lot of the tension, is that it's not that there's another person that completes one, but that two people are helping each other realize that they're complete, already.
Ooh.
Right? Yeah, it's like that. It's like we're not incomplete, or to the degree that we're connected to Krishna, we're complete. And each person is in the relationship is helping the other, supporting each other, moving forward towards that goal. If you can really think that way, if you can establish that as the real purpose to the relationship, then you will have Krishna in the center of it. So I just think that very fundamental conception could be very helpful. There's a lot of practical stuff, and we can discuss a bit about that. But to me, that's like the fundamental idea. All right. Practically, the idea of having deities in your home, simple worship, right? Even just it can just be a painting or even a photograph of deities from a temple, but that that there is this is something that we really need to start. You and I really need to start, providing more information on, providing courses and classes and so on, right? But like the idea in a Krishna Bhakta's household is that there's deities in the household, and by their presence, the whole house starts to center around them. Like the cleanliness of the home is maintained on behalf of the deities, and the cooking in the home is done on behalf of the deities, and it kind of begins it prevents you from just like sliding into your consciousness sliding out of its connection to Krishna.
We
So
try to keep Netflix the center of our home.
yeah, I mean that's what happens.
Yeah, that's what happens. And
Naturally.
you see that in these traditional homes in India, the altar is the center of the home,
Right.
and nowadays the media has become the center of the home, the computer, the office, etc.
Yeah. And then then I think if the husband and wife, if they have something that they do together, that's rather than they're just kind of pursuing their bhakti separately, but if there's something that they do together, then that can be very helpful. Just in the more general sense, I'm a firm believer that both men and women, should be free to pursue their talents and their gifts to share with the world, regardless of what they may be. And at the same time, I do think there's a certain wisdom in some of those old-fashioned values. I do believe that men and women have different psychologies, and a little recognition of that can be very helpful. I think a man has to be very sensitive to a woman's emotions. And I think a woman has to be a little sensitive to man's, I don't know, a little need for space sometimes. I think even just that right there can make a big difference. Sometimes like sometimes a guy just needs a little space. The woman understands that she's not.
I think Mara, in our relationship, Mara needs a little space. She's like, I need space.
But like if she's thinking, oh no, she's thinking, it's just he just needs a little space, and he's thinking, oh, she's freaking out, she just needs a hug, she just needs you to say a few sweet words to her to let her know that you love her. It's that kind of thing. I think sometimes we neglect those things. But I once heard, I think it was Rukmini, she said more or less exactly that she said, yeah, the wife needs a lot of hugs, and the man sometimes he needs a little space. And I think there's a wisdom in that. It's just a little something. Yeah, just a little something.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
Okay.
Out of my pocket.
All right. I guess that's it, huh? Blessings. May all the wisdom of the sages community bless
All blessings to Lee and Haley.
this marriage, and we certainly wish you all the best.
Hey, it's the anniversary of 2 days ago was the anniversary of our dear friend, student friend, Gopal Chandra leaving his body. He's a regular Zoomer, regular listener to the podcast, and a very auspicious, in the material world, death sounds like such a horrible thing, but for a devotee, it becomes a very beautiful, glorious thing. Both Radhanath Swami, Satchidananda Swami came to visit him. We got to chant with him. And we even brought an entire retreat to him because he lived up close to me. So we offer prayers for him and his, we offer prayers on his spiritual journey or in his spiritual destination, and ask for him to look out for us.
Yeah.
Now.
You should be praying for us now.
Yeah. Now look out for us. What's that? Oh yeah. People want to see the episode of Gopal Chandra. There was a couple different ones. There was the interview with Gopal Chandra, which is episode 751. And then there's the departure of Gopal Chandra, which is 781. I highly recommend you check both of those out. One is right after he left, and one is the interview with him. He was very, very, very Krishna conscious throughout his, illness of his body. And right. For me, he was a great asset in my spiritual life because I got to, leaving your body or death or terminal disease. Oftentimes it's swept under the rug and hidden in places, unless you're a nurse, a doctor, an EMT or something like that. So for me, I don't really see, quote, sick people, chronically ill people so much. So for me, it was a good chance to be with the person as a friend, as a devotee, as they're going through such a transition. And I grew a lot from it, and I'm very grateful for that whole experience. Check out those episodes.
Great. Okay, next question is coming from, it's an anonymous question, but it's coming from Kylie Brown's Sage Group.
Kylie Brown. Kylie Brown.
You ready?
Okay, ready.
So this person writes, this is a tough question, Raghunath. So I hope you're ready.
I'm ready.
You're wide awake. You ready to go?
Prabhu, come on.
Okay. This person writes, I continue to wonder how long it is recommended for me to pursue this path, as I'm constantly experiencing disappointment, hopelessness, frustration, resentment, and other negative emotions, seemingly as a result of the prescribed practices in this lineage. All right, you ready for this one, Raghunath?
Yeah.
It's an easy one. I can give specific examples, though I'm unsure if that's productive. I feel like I'm doing more harm than good, both to myself and the Krishna consciousness movement as a whole, by not being a positive and joyful element within this community. It seems to me I should take a step away from the practices if they're resulting in this experience. To avoid indulging in my quote-unquote victim mentality, it seems best that I would remain anonymous, but any insight or encouragement from the question and answer day would be appreciated.
I've got one.
Okay.
Step away from it. What are you doing then? What are you doing here? I don't mean that in a bad way, but if something's not giving you what you need, you step away from it.
I don't like that answer at all. I think that's a terrible answer.
That's not a terrible answer. That's not a terrible answer. We want to find something that gives us nourishment.
Yeah.
No, step away, get a perspective. But the interesting thing is, we tend to bring our own mind view towards anything. Sometimes we have people that want to do look at a deer. A deer is, you want to pet a deer. Oh, there's a deer in my front lawn. Oh my God, let's get close to the deer. You want to help the deer, love the deer, feed a deer an apple? I do. The deer runs away because he's bringing his own anxiety and fear, etc., to the equation. Sometimes we have issues with people, and I meet some a fool at first thing in the morning, and then it comes around 1 o'clock, and some other fool comes into my life. No, 3 o'clock, another fool enters into the office or whatever. After a while, guess what? I might be the fool. I might be the one with the issues. So I'm saying move away from it. She's blaming, or he is blaming, the practices, then step away from it. But you'll find that oftentimes the cynicism, the disappointment, the victimhood you're feeling might just be what your consciousness is filled with. And so I don't want to I wouldn't never twist a person's arm to practice our path. So step away from it and get a perspective.
Suggesting twisting arms.
Yeah, you want to go and enjoy the material world like a fly flies into fire. Go do it.
I don't know if they're suggesting that either.
I know, but you know what? Sometimes you have to just let a person do their thing. I think sometimes people really learn. They get into bhakti, they've got some issues, and they have to go away and find their own way again, only to bring them back to bhakti.
Okay.
That's whenever people are just like, oh, I don't feel it. Go do it then. Don't harp about doing it. Just do it. And then check back in. Hey, if you find something better, bring me. That's how I feel. You're like, oh, okay.
Well,
anyway, that's my approach. What's your approach?
When I hear this, I'm hearing a lot of, how to categorize it. It's just a very dark. I'm seeing everything through a dark lens. Really, everything is very positive. Everything is very bright. That, that's really our existential state. But it's hard to see that, and this person is, obviously sincere, trying to get through this, but they're seeing the very dark end. Now, you're saying that, and I kind of agree. It very well may be that this person has certain psychological issues that need to be addressed. And if you're expecting that the practice is going to do that work necessarily, it may not do that work. And so you're saying, in other words, yes, the practice of bhakti is meant to uncover our true nature, which is blissful, that we are blissful by nature. So one might think, well, I'm doing the practices, but I haven't found that blissful nature. As a matter of fact, I'm stuck in disappointment and frustration, and I'm beginning to feel resentment and so on. Well, maybe this has to do with that you have, your mind is caught in loops, and that needs to be addressed directly, through some kind of counseling. That's when I read this, and I'm certainly, an amateur at analyzing all this, but that's what I'm feeling, is like, I would suggest the idea of perhaps continuing the practices without the expectation that they're supposed to be therapy, like, psychological therapy, but maybe try psychological therapy. And it even can be in a relatively mild way, that someone could just kind of help you put a positive spin on things, and help you, give you a few tools to not allow your mind to take you again and again to dark places. It sounds to me like that kind of thing has helped. I don't think, when you say I feel like I'm doing more harm than good, both to myself and to the Krishna consciousness movement as a whole, I think we're fine. I don't think
I think we're doing okay.
We're going to be okay. I don't think these practices are going to do you harm. I just think that maybe you're not getting straight at the real issue that you need to address, and counseling might be the way to get that. That's my. There's not a lot of information shared here, but that's the vibe that I'm getting. What are your thoughts on that, Raghunath?
I mean, I'm trying to look back that question again. I continue to wonder how long I can recommend me to pursue a path I'm almost constantly experiencing disappointment, hopelessness, frustration. Well, let's break it apart. Frustration, controlling your senses causes frustration, perhaps. All the practices of a spiritual life. If we're frustrated, it means we're attached to another. For example, we like to rise early because early it's a precious time in the morning. It's a great time for meditation. If a person's frustrated from rising early, that means they have an attachment to staying up late. it's just like oftentimes I get frustrated when I have to refine my diet or control my mind. I get frustrated. Why? Because I want my mind to be on autopilot. But go ahead, then don't control your diet. Don't control your mind. Don't control and see how that turns out. It's just like that's why I was saying take the other path. Don't get frustrated. Indulge yourself. See where that leaves you. Disappointment.
I don't know if the frustration.
It depends who you're disappointed with. Your association with
I think,
with
well,
a
it sounds to me like
meditational practice.
their disappointment is in that the practice isn't delivering the results. The hopelessness is no matter how long I try, I still don't get the results. The frustration is no matter how much I try. The resentment is, hey, this stuff is supposed to work and it doesn't work. That's the impression that I'm getting from it.
Yeah, you know what? I can't fully buy into that just because I know this practice and I know how it affects you.
That's
And
my
I think
point.
a lot of times people get into this purity and not progress. There's this concept of pure devotion and pure, and there's just like, I'm going to be enlightened and I'm going to be ananda, filled with bliss, and I'm going to have all these spiritual downloads at every moment and pure bhakti. And I've seen how these guys act. Guess what? Work on progress and not perfection, and you'll go a lot farther in this world.
Then you'll be saving yourself perhaps a lot of disappointment and frustration.
Yeah. And notice little bits of progress. And you know what? Sometimes in climbing a mountain, you fall down a couple steps too, but that's also part of the climb as well. And don't set the bar so high that you'll feel like this is overwhelming. And some people do that too. They see like there's a big thing within a bhakti society is this the pure devotion. You hear that ringing. And people there's an ideal and then there's what's real. And I feel like if they still stay so high in this ideal, it doesn't work with a lot of people. A lot of people will end up publicly showing some ideal, but privately struggling and feeling disappointed and feel like it doesn't work. Go for little bits of progress in your life.
Okay.
And that comes from regulation.
Or what if, I was going to say in a similar vein, what if one did the practices of bhakti without any expectation of result, at least for some time, right? Let me for a month just practice bhakti and not hope to see some result from it.
The fact is, it's like once you want the result, it's not bhakti anyway.
Well, if the result is I want love of God, that's harmonious with bhakti,
right?
But
sattvic living, any yoga tradition, not even bhakti, just sattvic living, will make you happier. You know how I know that? Because I indulge in rajasic and tamasic living, and that is just sort of like math of the material world. Indulgence, recklessness, staying up late, eating, being indiscriminate what you consume with your mouth and your mind.
Something has to be shaken up here, right? Because you can't just keep banging your head against a wall. And so, so here are some thoughts, right? One may be counseling may be an important thing at this point. Two may be you're suggesting the possibility of stepping away from it and coming back, and re-examining, hey, I'm still right where I'm at. Maybe I do miss this. Maybe there was a greater promise there.
And that happens a lot, by the way, because a lot of people are just like, yeah, this isn't for me. Go away from, sometimes they take a 7-year, 10-year, 15-year hiatus only to go be like, what was I thinking?
Okay. My advice would be don't make that your first option. Try some other options first. Try shaking some other things up first if you can. And I like what you're saying. Just try to reach to Krishna in your own heart. Express to him how vulnerable you are. Express to him your true inner desire. Serve and do these practices with zero expectation of results for a month's time, and come back and see if that approach has made any difference and any progress. And at that point, analyze if you see any progress, even small progress. Consider that a victory and see if there's a next step for you to take. I sympathize with you. I feel for you. I pray for you, and I hope that I hope that things will begin to become brighter for you.
Say a prayer for me while you're at it, while you're making prayers today.
All right.
Pray for
We got
Raghunath.
another one from Kylie Brown's Sage Group.
Kylie Brown.
You ready?
Yep.
And hey, and spend a lot of time with Kylie too. She's good association. She'll lift you up.
Yeah, she does. She's a bright light.
Yes. Okay, this is another one from Kylie Brown's Sage Group, also anonymous. In the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that there is a realm beyond. Oh, this is a great question. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. In the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that there's a realm beyond material matter. I think material matter is the only kind of matter that there is. I guess there's spiritual
Matter.
in one sense. But I guess there's spiritual
Man, I think the very definition of matter.
beyond
is-
matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but so Krishna tells Arjuna that there's a realm beyond matter, hidden from view, and within that realm is his eternal abode.
Mhm.
It seems like the ability to see Krishna in a clear, quote unquote, no doubt about it type of way is not possible, or at least extremely rare. And the inability to see him seems to be by design. I understand that for some devotees, seeing the deity is the same as seeing Krishna, seeing the forms in the temple, and that Krishna can be seen everywhere. So there's certain ways you can see Krishna, but that's not the way this person is talking about seeing Krishna, right? In a variety of forms, that he can be seen everywhere in a variety of forms if we are in the right state of consciousness. But it would be a relief to a struggling devotee to be able to actually see Krishna in the form that we read about, with his flute and peacock feather in the crown. Why do you think Krishna doesn't allow us to see him? Why?
My
Raghunath?
my answer would be deserve and then desire.
Oh, okay.
No,
You're just-
even important people in this world, you can't just say,
Like
where is Obama? I want Obama. If there isn't Obama, let him show up and knock on my door.
Okay.
Well, if you want to meet someone, a famous celebrity, a famous sports star, a famous singer, do something that would make them want to meet you. It's like we're just sitting back in an armchair demanding, what to speak of Krishna. I think there is, first of all, the magic of the material universe is right around us, and still we can't see a divine hand behind it. It's like sometimes I wonder if Krishna came up and whacked me in the head with a cane, that I would still even see him. The fact is, right now I'm looking at a beautiful rainfall. Yesterday or 2 days ago, when that tornado warning happened, the sky was like breathtaking. And even if that tornado fell at Super Soul Farm, the sacred geometry of the tornado itself is like a Krishna miracle, right? It's like a Krishna miracle in itself.
Like a big Fibonacci spiral.
It's a big Fibonacci spiral. And so the thing is, even though everything, even destruction, is quite magnificent in the material realm and the material creation, still I can't see a divine intelligence behind it. I think it's just all random. It's all came out of nothing. It's just like what? So of course, with Krishna as well, we have to start to develop the process. So we're having a process to see Krishna face to face. And acharyas or great masters said that's actually attainable in this body, that you can actually see Krishna face to face. But there's a method to do it. And maybe in our position right now, Krishna keeps us at a distance. Why? Because when Krishna brings us close, Krishna becomes vulnerable to the people he brings us close. You'll hear time and time again, Krishna becomes incredibly vulnerable to his devotees. And so, just like, for example, I'm not going to let anybody who knocks on my door come in my door, except these guys who are in my door. You know what I mean? You're a little vulnerable. Can I help you? I'm looking for Raghunath. Well, who are you? I'm just here. Well, what do you want? You want to is this person crazy? Are they insane? Do they have a weapon on them? Or is it a postman? Is it the person wearing a disguise? That happens sometimes. People in disguise come knocking at your door.
I would imagine a large percent of the people that are knocking on your door, Raghunath, are actually in disguise.
In disguise, perhaps. So my point being, you want to be sure that this person, right. Imagine someone knocks on your door and says, "I need help. My car broke down." No, so immediately you want to trust, but you got to find out, is this person crazy? Okay, well, why are you carrying a gun if your car broke down? So we want to go through this thing. Krishna is the same way. Before he brings us back closer, he wants to make sure that the ego thing, which is I'm first, I'm the center, we're not leading with that. So that the ego keeps us bound up in the material world. It keeps us bonking heads with each other. Whereas when we get back to a spiritual realm, it's a different reality. And then Krishna actually becomes the devotee's servant. And so Krishna is very careful who he lets into his circle. That's my answer.
Okay, I think that's a good answer. My answer is more or less the same, you know.
Really?
And well, in the simplest answer to this question, why is it not possible for us to see Krishna, is because we're currently not equipped for it. We don't have the right equipment.
I like that.
We've got material eyes that are capable of perceiving material form. Right? You actually need eyes that are spiritualized to see Krishna's form. This is what Acharyas say. This is what, you know, great text, Brahma Samhita, you know. Brahma Samhita says you can see that form anywhere when you're, you know, using the metaphor, when your eyes are
smeared with the salve of love.
With the salve of love. What is it?
I like where you're going with this. Keep going.
Well, I mean, so the point is, how do I get the equipment that I can see Krishna? How will, you know, what will it take for me to see Krishna? There's a zoom out that you need to understand this circumstance. The question is, it's something like a prisoner saying, you know, being out of prison is really rare. Being able to see all the things that people that aren't in prison see is very rare. Why can't we see it? You know, and it's kind of, it's actually not rare. It's like most people are out there in the world seeing all the stuff that you can see when you're not in prison.
I like this.
It's just the people that are in the prison that can't see it. Why can't they see it? They haven't qualified themselves yet to see it.
Right? When you said this, I thought of another thing. You're like, okay, we got to develop the equipment, and we can see that within our own life. There are times that I had in my life where I was seeing through the eyes of lust, or through the eyes of greed, or through the eyes of like revenge. Right. And it definitely colors your vision. Right. Like you can't see a person's really good qualities because they're not attractive to you. So you just ignore them and you go for someone who's physically attractive, but might be like completely evil. Yeah. So when we have the eyes of lust, the eyes of greed, the eyes of anger or envy or revenge or hate, we're just going to see material vision. So how do you develop the vision of love?
This is great, Raghunath. It's taken me to Groundhog Day, the film Groundhog Day.
There we go again. How many times are we going to mention Groundhog Day on this podcast? I think the Matrix and Groundhog Day are like neck and neck for which popular movie we recommend.
I recommend both those films.
What about Ghost? Do you recommend that movie? It was a good one.
Never seen it.
You never saw Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg?
No.
Oh man, you're gonna love that movie.
Okay. All right.
I cried.
All right. And then you fell asleep.
Yes.
But okay, Groundhog Day. One could ask, you know, like the protagonist in it, the Bill Murray character.
Mm-hmm.
He could ask, why can't this woman who he's pursuing, right? There was some woman he was a weather broadcaster, what do they call it? Anchor. And there was some woman that was also part of the team. They went off for a few days to this remote place to find the groundhog for Groundhog Day and report on it. But he's like a really arrogant guy. And he's interested in her with his eyes smeared with lust, right? He's interested in her with a lusty desire. His vision is covered by arrogance, and he could ask, why doesn't she's only showing me her cold side, right? Any approach that he's making to her, he's getting nothing but her cold energy, right? Why can't she show me her warm energy, right? Well, it's because of the way it's because of the way that you see her. You see her as an object of enjoyment. You don't see her with selflessness. You don't see her with real love.
When you approach with real love, what happens?
And so eventually he through going through, and he went through day after day of the same day to learn a lesson. We go through birth after birth in different bodies to learn a lesson. But what we're meant to learn is approach Krishna with love. He shows himself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what it takes. It takes eyes smeared with love. So if we get this idea, then that can drive us. I want Krishna. This is what I want. I'm not praying for you to show yourself to me. I'm praying for you to please help me develop that vision of love, right? So that I will see you, right? Not like, hey, please show me yourself the way I am now, even though I'm not qualified.
I'm just going to demand it.
Yeah.
Look at. If you're going to approach anybody, if I approached Mara and I didn't know her, I'd be like, hey, tell me something intimate about yourself right now.
Show me.
No, it's like a
Show
clam. It's going to clam up.
Yeah.
Tell me your intimate feelings. Be vulnerable right now. No. How do you make someone reveal themselves? You love them. You learn. You practice to love them, and then they would trust you. They want to give you everything. They want to share everything with you. They'll tell you everything.
I don't mean to imply that the person that asked this question is like really off in their mentality. I'm not saying that at all. But I think this is the answer to your question, right? Why are we in illusion in the first place? Why can we not see Krishna in the first place? When you hear Prabhupada describe it, right, the way that he describes it is we were with Krishna. We were able to see him, right?
Mm.
But we had some desire to experience life separately from him. And in order to have that, because he's everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to go into illusion to feel your so-called independence from Krishna. It's
so-called independence.
Yeah, you're dependent. You're still dependent at every step, but
every moment we're dependent.
If you want to feel that I'm independent, then you need to be in illusion. And so we voluntarily accepted going into the illusion, and now we're getting some clue that we're in illusion and there's something beyond it. So okay, there's a little work to do, right? Take one short lifetime and dedicate it to doing that work.
Mm-hmm.
And dedicate yourself, serve, meditate, pray, dance and chant, offer your food to Krishna and enjoy it. Think of Krishna. Infer his presence in the sun, in the moon, in the rivers, etc. In the heart,
the beauty of this world, and the disasters, and the natural disasters, and the landslides,
all that too.
Tornadoes.
That's that cold energy, in a sense.
Yeah.
And go within your heart to find that, and when you make this, Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhava Tume, Krishna, please show yourself to me because I want nothing but to love you. When that becomes your sole focal point, your truest, deepest motive in life, then he'll show himself to you. Gotta be a little patient, though. Yeah.
What do you think about Sixth Sense, the movie Sixth Sense?
Haven't seen it.
Was that like, were you like, what?
Haven't seen it.
Sixth Sense. It was like, the guy died, and it was like the movie
or something.
It was sort of like, was this going to be scary? It's going to be weird, and all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, plot twist.
What about Flatliners? I never saw that one either.
No, I don't know that.
Okay, I heard that. In any case, I think we have time for one more question. Maybe we get Jujitsu Nath over here.
52. Jujitsu Nath has a question.
Can we just read it, or is he going to read it?
Let's unmute him. Let's unmute Jujitsu Nath.
Live audience.
He's live.
Or he's.
Do you know how to unmute someone, Mara?
She knows.
There he is. Jujitsu Nath.
Hare Krishna.
Hey, Hare Krishna. How are you?
Now, no, just quick question. Are you wearing a shirt that's a wide scoop neck right now, or is that no shirt? Because I don't know anymore.
Unfortunately, all my wide scoop neck shirts are in the wash.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that answer. How are you, Prabhu? This is Jujitsu Nath from Syracuse.
New York, Syracuse.
I'm not sure.
Read your question.
I'm not sure which question you're doing.
Oh, okay. Well, it's the one. Should I read it? It's one about often bhakti yogis say whatever we think. Oh no, that's Maturana. Here
No,
we
that's
go.
Maturana.
I want to thank the three of you for all that you do. Looking back to when Srila Prabhupada ignited this fire in the West, this is the question. Do you have it with you, or should we just read it?
Just read it, please.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Mute this guy again.
Okay.
Put a shirt on. Put a shirt.
Okay. He writes, looking back to when Srila Prabhupada ignited this fire in the West, when he brought the teachings of Bhakti Yoga to the Western world and did ignite a fire, it spread around the entire globe in 12 short years. He says, it seemed that a lot of the youths were dissatisfied with society. That was the 60s, right? And it's looking like this, and it's looking like this, and it's looking like this is happening more and more in our current times. People are dissatisfied. Young people are dissatisfied. All right?
Yeah.
My question is this, and I mean no disrespect to any of the leaders of the Krishna consciousness movement, but most of them are getting older. How can the movement keep itself relevant to the current youth? Or how can it attract a younger demographic while still honoring Prabhupada and those who have come before? Thank you for your time and for whatever answers or ideas you can share. Raghunath?
It's going to happen organically. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It just happened. People die. New generations come up and take over, and they have a fresher vision, and they're more in tune with how to do that type of work, that outreach.
Okay.
That's how I would say.
You're just like today you're just a little bit like
sitting back, giving answers.
Deadpan? Is that the
Is it
term for
deadpan? You think I'm
I don't know.
deadpan today?
Is that the right word? I might be using the wrong word, but just like kind of like let me look.
Aloof. I'm not aloof either.
Dead.
I thought I was sure of myself. That's how I thought I was.
Deliberately impassive or expressionless. Expressionless. A little bit like that. You're like, no, that's okay. I'm not saying that the divine doesn't work through you in that mood, Raghunath.
Thank you. Yeah. You got an answer for him?
My answer again is similar to yours. I think that hey, we were talking all week about Rick Rubin, right?
Yeah.
And in that book, The Creative Act, and what one part that was, I'll tell you, Raghunath, it was really resonating with me. It was a little eye-opening. I don't know, eye-opening exactly the way to say it, but it got me thinking in a new way. Not in an entirely new way, but like it kind of framed it for me, you know?
Tell me.
Well, he was writing, you know, there are ideas that are, when their time comes, they're meant to be shared. And the people that are in tune with that idea will be the ones that share it, right? You with me?
Yep.
Okay. So I believe that Krishna Bhakti is destined to manifest. The time is right. It's Krishna's desire. It will manifest more and more. And it's really just a question of who can do it. And different people are going to play their little roles in how that gets done, right? Like let's assume, and there is truth. There is truth in what Matt is saying. Prabhupada's original followers, they really did special things. So many of them really are such special people, and they gave of themselves. They gave up their very life breath practically to bring bhakti to the Western world. They sacrificed so much, you know. They played their role, and they still may have more of a role to play. But as Raghunath mentions, they will pass on too. And it's not that that this message will no longer be shared. It'll be shared by the next people that are catching on to it, by the grace of those first people that did, right? Even those people may take birth again just to continue that work. And honestly, it's my belief that many of them will, you know, many of them will. And they'll be all that much more powerful, you know, in doing it. So I believe that we do need to, you know, we need to be conscious of how well we're communicating. We need to be conscious of the audience that we communicate to. I'm not one of these people that just says, hey, you just do it the way it is and it's all the, I sometimes I hear people when they speak of their presentation of Bhakti, they say it's simple, you just do it like this, and if people don't get it, that's their problem. I don't think that way. I think that that there's a balance between watering something down, or I would say adapting something and keeping it real, right? Like presenting something in a way that it can be understood by a current audience, but maintaining its authenticity. That's the balance, and that's something that requires monitoring and fine tuning. And some people, due to their age, due to their honestly, I don't think it has so much to do with age. I think the inability to be able to do that well has more to do with living in a bubble for years and years and years. You gave me a finger.
That was
positive way.
That was a positive finger.
You gave me a positive finger. Yeah, and even that, I don't hold that against anyone. It's like maybe by living in a bubble, it gave us power to do other things too. But I do believe that unless you step out of the bubble a little bit, you don't really know how to communicate. It's likely you're not going to be able to communicate so well.
I'm ready to live in a bubble.
You want to go into a bubble? So my point to Matt is it will happen. You may be a part of it, and I never fear that it's all going to get lost or something like that. I'm rather I feel very optimistic that I think Bhakti could crack open in the world like in a wide way at any moment.
I think Mukunda, we have to do a Bhakti martial arts school. That's where it's going to crack it open. You and me. There's a whole bunch of Bhakti jiu-jitsu black belts out there. Let's do this.
All right.
Okay.
All right. That's it for today, right?
That's it. That went quick,
that was helpful.
All right. I want to thank everybody from our teacher training for joining us. I want to thank everybody for Zoom for joining us.
Thank you, Rogan.
Thanks to Cindy and Bobby, Kostuba, Miss Mara.
I'm going to get myself on those scoop necks. Tomorrow morning, you're going to see me with a big scoop neck.
You know what? I'm setting the trends here. Maybe I will see you there tomorrow. And also, once this posts to YouTube, I want to see everybody write down your favorite spiritual movies. Ghost, Sixth Sense. What was the one about the Disney movie Soul? People recommend that one. I'd like to see it. I've got one on the message board. Put it up right now so I can see it right now. I'll read it off. You got a spiritual movie?
Forrest Gump. Spending your life.
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Haven't seen it.
What's defending your life? What's defending your life?
Never heard of it.
What's defending your life? Neil Maxwell's pushing.
You know what I
one.
thought was interesting right now?
Crash?
Yeah.
I don't know it. Albert Brooks. Sliding Doors. Kelly Becker.
I haven't heard of any of these.
I've never heard of these movies. I gotta watch movies. I gotta get back into Netflix.
No, you don't.
That's my lesson today. Super Soul Spiritual Movie Night. What do you think about that? On a big screen outside. Tarun opens the snack shack. Sells his popcorn. But Tarun had mind reading, magic, and then when everyone went through that, then he opened the snack shack. And he was first opened. The snack shack turned into a mind reading and magic shack. Michelle from Nashville says, just watch Arrival.
What about that Avatar? What is that?
Celestine Prophecy. A Message movie, Something Divine. Still going with Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg.
Flatliners. What about Flatliners? Anybody seen
Never
that?
seen it. All right, people, we gotta go. We got a teacher training to do. It's a beautiful day for a beautiful day. Let the magic continue to flow. And a big Haribo.